Have you ever wondered how the entire Griffin family has been able to get into all sorts of hijinks, ranging from the paranormal to the social deal, without there being any repercussions? Well, the answer is very simple. The entire plot is within Peter's mind. It all started with Meg. Rather than being the big, unattractive, unpleasant girl that everyone in the show makes her out to be, she was a very beautiful and a very popular teenage girl at the prime of her life in high school, and she was also very caring for her poor younger brother, Chris. Chris didn't get enough oxygen when he was born, thus resulting in his mental retardation throughout his life. Meg had a very special bond and love for Chris, and could not stand the fact that Chris could not receive the attention and the love that she had received from everyone, including their parents. As a result, one night, Meg took her younger brother to a party. However, after heavy drinking on Meg's part and a panic attack on Chris's part, Meg decides to take her brother home. As a result of an inebriated state, Meg totaled the car, resulting in the death of her and her brother. Unable to grieve with the death of their two children, Lois took her own life shortly after the accident. While she was pregnant with a son that Peter spontaneously decided to name Stewie, unable to cope with the death of everyone that he ever loved, Peter slowly slipped into insanity, creating a world where his 3 children and his wife were still alive. That's why everyone in the show is so mean and distasteful towards Meg. Peter still resents her for ultimately being responsible for the death of everyone around him. However, there is still a minuscule part of Peter that loves Meg for her beautiful and wonderful girl she was, and the love she had held for Chris, which is why every once in a while you see Peter showing some sort of compassion towards his daughter. This would also explain the hyper-intelligence of Stewie. Unsure of how Stewie's future would have become, Peter imagined his son with a great intelligence and great potential, creating any sort of gadget that he would please. However, his resentment towards Lois also builds up in his image of Stewie, angry at her for taking away their still unborn child, which would explain why Stewie constantly plans for his mother's death, which would explain why Stewie never seems to age. As for Peter's extreme stupidity, it wasn't like that in real life. Peter was actually a very intelligent man. However, the feeling like he had not met with the standards of his role as a father and a husband, unable to protect his children and wife. Peter himself has turned himself into the complete idiot that perceives himself to be. However, he has created a different personality to express the intelligent man that he always has been, in the form of the family dog Brian. As for Cleveland, Quagmire, and Joe, they're all real people involved in Peter's life. Cleveland and Quagmire did live in the same neighborhood as Peter. Their appearances in the show represents the times that they visit their old friend, Peter, in the mental hospital, an attempt to humor him in his insanity-induced world. Cleveland and Quagmire also told Peter about Joe, the man who moved into his new house with his wife, his son, and newborn baby on the way. Having never met Joe, Peter decides to introduce him to include him into his own world, as the man he never could have been, a strong, heroic, devoted father and husband, who unconditionally loved his family, despite his crippling disability. Cleveland, having visited his friend Peter more in the hospital, he found himself would slowly start to lose his mind whenever he was helping Peter indulge in his imagination. As a result, Cleveland decided to stop his visitations to Peter, resulting in the spin-off show that Peter created. In his new world, Peter constantly is the one who brings the troubles onto himself and his family. However, at the end of it all, he knows that the whole Griffin family is safe and that he loved each and every member unconditionally. And that is really all Peter Griffin ever wanted. And that, my pretties, was The Family Guy Fury, a creepypasta written by Bblank0308. My final thoughts on this story? Well, I personally thought this was a really good story. I personally really thought it was a really enjoyable creepypasta. I mean, it's a good Fury too, because I can see that this is actually very believable. Like, it all makes sense as to why Peter is the way he is and why, you know, everybody is the way he is in Family Guy. We do know for a fact that, Family Guy does do a lot of weird stuff and crazy stuff at times. But this actually makes a lot of sense. I personally thought this was a really interesting and really good creepypasta. I personally really enjoyed this one a lot. I thought it was really good. So, I guess with that being said, and that being the case, I personally do have to say this is on Spin Pasta Wiki, so I'll leave a link in description in case if you guys want to go check out this story. I do remember a couple creepypasta narrators narrated this one, so I decided to sit here and narrate this one because I thought this was actually a pretty good story. It's a pretty good theory. I like it because, it's believable and it can explain, why Peter's family, what they've been through and stuff, and it's just really depressing, I will say. But despite this is actually a really good show. I personally really enjoyed this a whole lot. I thought it was a really, really good Fury pasta. It's believable and stuff like that. So, yeah, with that being said, and with that being the case, the grammar was really well done. Same with the sentence structuring and the storyline. Everything about this was just flat out amazing. I personally really enjoyed this story. So, I do have to say that there were a few grammatical errors and maybe just a few punctuation errors, but despite that, this was a pretty good story. So, I think the author should be proud of him or herself for writing such a good story like this. This is actually really nice and it's enjoyable, really well done, and it's just flat out amazing. So I personally really enjoyed this a whole lot. Now, with that being said, and with that being the case, yeah, like I'm always gonna say, this is just simply my own personal opinion, and if you disagree with it, that's perfectly fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas. It's just simply my own personal thoughts. I'm gonna give this story a 9 out of 10. While it's a really good story, there is still a few grammatical errors and a few punctuation errors in the story that I did see. But this story was very well done. It's believable. It's really amazing. I do like the concept of this. I thought it was really neat. I do like how there's a lot of time and effort into this story, and it's a pretty believable Fury. I can definitely guarantee that right now. It's a really awesome Fury. So, yeah. Anyways, with that being said, and that being the case, what did you guys personally think of this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you all not? Also, what you have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm Shadow the Line Queen. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and if you enjoy this channel, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. As always, if you want to go follow me on Blue Sky, follow me on Twitter, follow me on DeviantArt, and follow me on my backup channel known as Miss Dark Shigo, as links to that is in the About page section, so you guys can go follow me on there. And as always, that's pretty much all I have to really say, but if I'm missing something, please let me know. But I think I've pretty much covered everything. So with that being said and that being the case, I will be catching you guys all in the next video. Peace out, and like always, roll the outro, because I'm out.
What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, Thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, stay pretty.